Hi, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Anika Allen, and I work for the Academy of Professional Development and Training. We are housed in the Children, Youth, and Families Workforce Division and are responsible for training child welfare workers in both protective services and juvenile justice. COVID-19 has turned all of our worlds upside down. We went from classroom training to WebEx training overnight, literally. We understand how the shift to a virtual environment can be taxing, making it easy to be confused on how to maneuver some critical issues. For those living in the virtual world, we have some suggestions and tips that may be beneficial. Everything has changed. We are definitely doing things differently. Most of us are working from home. School is being taught virtually. Our social lives are on hold or non-existent. Social distancing is the new dance. But wait, not everything has changed. If you are still having interactions with students, you are still a safe adult for them. You may still suspect or be told about abuse or neglect, and you are still a mandated reporter. And speaking of other things that haven't changed, here at CYFD there are 3 issues that we deal with every day: mental health, substance abuse, and domestic violence. The steps taken to address COVID-19 impact these issues substantially. Here is what we know. Child abuse reports are dropping significantly nationwide, up to 70% in some states. Here in New Mexico, reports have dropped 50%. Domestic violence shelters are being overwhelmed with reports and cases, up to an 80% increase nationwide. We also know not everyone is safe at home. Access to treatment for mental health and substance abuse issues is reduced. While telehealth sessions are in full force, not everyone has the technology to access them. The COVID-19 prevention efforts are asking people with mental health and substance abuse issues to leave facilities before they are ready. Additionally, experts project a sharp rise in substance abuse. After Hurricane Katrina, there was a 35% increase in substance abuse that was isolated geographically. Due to the widespread effects of COVID-19, we can reasonably expect to see increases in every state. The COVID-19 social distancing efforts mean more people are spending more time at home, increasing the risk of abuse. So let's look at some of the risk factors for child abuse and neglect. Social isolation, family stress, parent stress, financial uncertainty, and definitely insecurity. We know many people are unemployed at this time, and the absence of childcare or school is putting an additional strain on families. So just about everything that is being done to prevent or slow COVID-19 will directly impact child abuse. Just think of the impact of physical distancing by itself in relation to these risk factors. Experienced educators likely have seen all forms of child abuse at one time or another. Let's review some of the signs of an at-risk child, focusing on how they may or may not change in a virtual environment. In addition to sudden changes in their behavior, being tearful, angry, or disengaged, they might also appear to be hypervigilant. You may also notice a child that becomes overly compliant, an overachiever, or too responsible. Additionally, an at-risk child in the virtual environment may log in extra early, they may stay late, they may be looking for a way to reach out and talk to you. They might have unusual amounts of engagement or none at all. They may have little or no adult supervision. The school environment has changed, but your instincts certainly have not. Similarly, there are signs you may notice about a caregiver in an at-risk situation as well. Some of those might be they blame the child for problems both in school and at home. They may portray the child as a problem. They may act as though the child is there to support their own emotional needs. You may also notice that they seem to demand perfection from the child. Before we focus on specific signs you can watch for in the virtual environment, let's review some common signs of abuse and neglect. I know you receive annual trainings on how to recognize and report child abuse and neglect. For those of you who still have contact with children, our goal is only to give a quick refresher. There are some things that are pretty obvious. Sometimes you can see burns, bites, bruises, or even a black eye. You may hear about reports directly from the child. You may notice that the caregiver is severely limiting their contact with other people. They may seem frightened. Additionally, if you see any burns, bites, bruises, you may notice that they have no explanation or that their explanation is very unconvincing. You may notice extreme changes in their behavior. They may run away. Remember also that it's important to be diligent with those children that you know have a past history of abuse or neglect. Now let's focus on some specific signs that may occur in the virtual environment. You may actually witness acts of violence or hear them on the camera. You may notice that a child is keeping the room intentionally dark or that they're frequently absent from different sessions and provide no explanations at all. You may notice that the state of the home is neglectful. Additional signs might be a child who engages in Zoom bombing. That means they are being purposefully disruptive in the class environment. They may play loud music, they may make faces, they may call people names, they may act inappropriately. There's a lot of different ways to Zoom bomb. They may also use the chat box inappropriately and say things that are clearly not meant for the classroom. You may also notice that they themselves or their caregivers are using substances just through the camera. Remember that neglect is one of the most reported areas and that the response to COVID-19 has dramatically impacted many people's employment. Be sure to remind children and caregivers of the resources available through your schools, including the meal program. Now let's take a look at some tips on how to engage with children to position yourself as a safe adult for them. Our tips fall into some of the major categories of trauma-informed practice. Much of this information comes from Teaching Tolerance. They reached out to its community to learn what support families needed most. Check out their website. First of all, create a sense of safety. Establish a routine and maintain clear communication. Ask open-ended questions. This encourages conversation and openness, and it sends the message that you care about the child and what's going on in their lives. Offer students a way to connect, not only with you, but also with other important adults and peers in their lives. When you're in the virtual environment, log in early, log out last. You will be surprised at the kids who come in early to talk to you, or they stay late to talk to you. Pay attention to what's happening in the background. Encourage a well-lit workstation that helps you see what's going on. If you ask them to have minimal distractions, it may even give you an opportunity for more privacy. Pair or group students for assignments. This gives them the opportunity to connect to others in their class. If you have a child who has technological difficulties, please make sure that you're using the phone to reach out to them. Promote connectedness. Greet students by name, and even if it seems silly to you, if you can come up with a virtual routine for them, it might make their day. Something like a virtual high five. Ask them about their worries and their fears. Have them identify family and friends who can support them. Have them create a plan to stay connected and encourage families to keep a regular routine. And the most important thing you can do is take action. If you witness violence in person or through a camera, call 911 immediately. If you think a child is in imminent danger to themselves or others, call 911. If you suspect child abuse or neglect, report it to statewide central intake. Please gather any information you can to help us. Names, license plates, descriptions. We do not disclose who made the reports to any families that we contact. If you see or hear something, or something just doesn't feel right, please report it. You are mandated to take action. Here is the information for statewide central intake, often referred to as SCI. In addition to the 855 number, You can also dial #SAFE from your cell phone. You can be the one person who can make all the difference for a child. Sometimes they feel like they don't have a voice. You can be that voice for them. Thank you for joining us today.